Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another live stream. Alright. So I have a project that have a deadline, and I need to work with Python Django, and I never really worked with that technology yet. I mean, I kind of got into it at some point, but I didn't really follow up with it. So this is what we're gonna explore today. We're going to learn today, should I say. So yeah. Okay. I need to share the live stream. Okay, nice. Alright. So we're gonna wait for a bit, so interested people can join in. So it's been around 4 minutes. We're gonna push it up to 5 minutes, and then we're gonna start the stream. Stream looking good. All right, 5 minutes is done. So I guess let's get started. So I've been searching for books or documentation of Django, but let's just go ahead. I think the best way probably to just look for the Django website, the official website. There you go. So Django makes it easier to build better web apps more quickly and with less code. And by the way, this is a fresh install of Windows, so you're gonna see me install Python, you're gonna see me install VS Code and all sorts of craziness. So meet Django. Django is a high-level Python web framework that encourages rapid development and clean, pragmatic design. Built by experienced developers, it takes care of much of the hassle of web development, so you can focus on writing your app without needing to reinvent the wheel. It's free and open source. Ridiculously fast. Django was designed to help the developers take applications from concept to completion as quickly as possible. Django takes security seriously and helps developers avoid many common security mistakes. And also exceedingly scalable. Some of the busiest sites on the web leverage Django's ability to quickly and flexibly scale. Nice. Right. Ridiculously fast, fully loaded. Cool. So Django includes dozens of extras you can use to handle common web development tasks. Django takes care of user authentication, content administration, sitemaps, RSS feeds, and many more tasks right out of the box. Reassuringly secure. Django takes security seriously and helps developers avoid many common security mistakes such as SQL injection, cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgery, and clickjacking. Its user authentication system provides a secure way to manage user accounts and passwords. Nice. So exceedingly scalable. Some of the busiest sites on the planet use Django's ability to quickly, flexibly. Okay, fine. Incredibly versatile. Companies, organizations, and governments have used Django to build all sorts of things, from content management systems to social networks to scientific computing platforms. Alright, so this stream will be full of reading because, like, I'm literally just sharing with you my adventure today. It's like I have no idea on how Django works. So yeah, let's go. So you can try a tutorial or just dive into the documentation. What if I just dive into the documentation? First steps from scratch, overview, and installation. Okay. Can I go with installation maybe? Before you can use Django, you need to install the complete installation guide. Right. SQLite. So you need to set up databases. Yeah. So honestly, I think I'm not gonna read. I'm just gonna read silently, so I can be reading fast, basically. So you've got 3 options to install Django: install an official release, install a version of Django, and install the latest development version. Okay, install an official version. Okay, so we need first of all to install Python. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go with my command prompt here. I'm going to use Winget. You can use whatever you want to install Python. So let's search for Python. Okay, there's a lot of cool stuff here. There's even the MS Store versions. I'm not a big fan of the MS Store. Okay, so there's 3.12. What is the current version of Python, by the way? Python version, latest version. Okay. 3.11.3. There you go. 3.11.3. But how I'm supposed to read that ellipsis right there? That's stupid. But okay. Winget install. Well, what I'm doing here. Git install Python. Let's see what it's gonna do there. Yes. Okay, cool. So we got Python down. What the? Come on, I have to say exit. Hello, oh, you are using Windows now. Hello, Allersheden. Welcome to the stream. I constantly switch between Windows 11 and Linux, Arch Linux Manjaro, just so I don't get used to any of them. So depending on what I work on, and depending also on the mood. For example, there was a game on Steam that I couldn't run on Linux, so I just switched over again. But probably I'll switch again to Linux very soon. But yeah, doesn't really matter too much to me. I can easily switch between them at any time. Alright, pretty cool. In fact, I have a big hard disk. It's like, I think it's 1 terabyte, I guess. It's just full of systems that I can just plug in that disk and install whatever system I'd like at any time. Which is interesting. Okay, so I have Python right now, I guess. Python dash version. Hello, try Python dash version. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I think it's maybe dash version. There you go, dash version. So Python 3.11.3. Let's go. Okay, nice stuff. Now I guess I'm going to install VS Code because this is a fresh install of Windows. I also take, like when I install a fresh Windows or basically fresh system, I take it as an opportunity to make tutorials about how to set up stuff, like how to set up VS Code. Soon enough, probably I will do a tutorial on how to set up Zig because someone have asked for it in the comments section in one of my videos. Honestly, let me just try to use Winget. So accept the agreement. What the? Anyway, cancel. So the thing is, coming from Linux, I very much love package managers. Until now, I've seen Winget, Scope, and Chocolate as options. I'm not really sure so far what are the best ones, but I did had a bad experience with Chocolate one time. I've tried it. Scope, so far that I used it, it was pretty good. Aligns well with my Linux knowledge of a package manager. Winget, still neutral. I don't know exactly, but I'm just gonna use Winget if I can. Anyways, so okay, so let's look for VS Code. I hate CMD for MS-DOS though. Oh yeah, it's actually Windows PowerShell, I guess. Winget is better for Windows users. I see. So Winget, let's search for VS Code and see what we get there. Alright, VS Code, Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Well, I guess I'll just try Winget install. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to read that stuff with the ellipsis. So VS Code. Let's just hope this works. Alright, let's go. So just for the new viewers, I'm pretty experienced with programming, I guess. But when it comes to Django and web in general, like this is my first time really having the intention to dive into it. So yeah. And we're gonna read a lot of documentation today, so this is gonna be very, very boring. Very, very boring stream. But yeah. I wonder if CMDir has its own package manager. I think it's Winget, no? What is CMDir, by the way? CMDir. I don't know why it's super slow. That's stupid. It is a terminal emulator. Never really heard of it, honestly. Have you tried streaming on Switch? The programming development community large there. I never really tried. Honestly, I just stick to YouTube. I mean, trying to get her people again on another platform would be kind of the task. Shell and bash on Windows. Alright, cool. So now, I guess we have code, right? Isn't it? So let's see. Let's see what we got. Yep, we got Visual Studio Code now. And why it doesn't wanna launch? Okay. Yeah. Who cares? Anyway, so let's get some extensions. I'm gonna go with Python. Oh, it was actually there in front of me. There you go. So I guess let's install that maybe. And then I think, there you go. I guess let's look for black Python. Format Python code with black. Or honestly, fine. Never mind. Let's just go with the default one, I guess. And what's next? I also like, I don't remember what is it called. Airlines, I guess. Yeah, there you go. Airlines. This is a very interesting extension. Okay, cool. Cool. So now we got that down. Well, how are we gonna get started now? Okay, let's go back to Django stuff now. We're done with this craziness, okay? So Python py-mpip cmd. What do you mean by py? Man. Python-mpip install Django. Okay. Also install pip the easiest to use the handle pip installer. Take a look at Vev. This tool provides isolated Python environments which are more practical than installing packages system-wide. Is Vev really worth it, honestly? Creating virtual environments. Do you guys use Venv or not? I guess let's try to use Venv, although I never really used it, honestly. Although I think I used it once when I was trying to follow up with the tutorial. But anyway, that was a long time ago. Okay, so let's try first of all to get a folder going. I don't know. I'd like to just put my stuff somewhere around here. Let's create the folder there, I guess, and Python stuff. Yes, we're used to now trying to learn Emacs. Pip is Python zone package manager. Select folder. Alright, let's actually create a new folder, call it Django Learning, I guess. Dev is not necessary for your case. No, I use it for isolating work environments that require different versions of modules. Interesting, interesting. So I guess, yeah, let's just not use it. Okay, cool. So what's next? We have this guy. Let's actually open that folder. Python Django Learning. Select folder. Okay, cool. Yo, what's going on here? Why this is not working as expected? What the? Okay, anyway. So. I just got multiple monitors and this is confusing me. Anyway, so let's go back to Django stuff now. Well, anyways, let's just go to Django stuff. Documentation. Overview, I think. So, although you can use Django with our database. Okay. My site news models.py. But it didn't tell me how to install that thing, isn't it? Oh, okay, install a Python first. So I got the latest version of Python, cool. Now this step is all necessary. Cool, okay, install Django, an official release. Okay, let's try to create, I guess, main.py. And, oh man. Settings, where is it? So first of all, I'd like to format on save. There you go. I also like to enable breakpoints everywhere. And also, what else? Yeah, zoom, mouse wheel zoom. I don't really know why this is not activated by default. But yeah, anyways. So nice, okay. Now let's try to import Django then. There you go. Let's print Django.get version. You triggered formatting AutoPep 8. Would you like to install one of our new formatter extension? This will also set as the default formatter. Okay, let's go with black. Okay, let's go with a black formatter. Sure. And now I guess let's try this one. And there you go. Django 4.2.1 if anyone is following up with us. You may have another version of Django installed. That's it. You can move on to the tutorial. Okay, cool. So yeah, public site. So let's learn by example through this tutorial. Okay, so I'm not gonna read just so we can be fast here. Public side, that lets me. Okay, creating a project. If this is your first time. Okay, so I think Django-admin start project my site. Start. This will create a my site directory in your current directory. If it didn't work, see problems. Okay, cool. So Django-admin start project my site. What? Is not recognized. Really? Django-admin. It's not recognized. Okay, I already have a problem. Should via pip. I did. Okay, let's try again, I guess. So pip install Django. Must be added to path, really. New release of pip available. Well, hold on a second. Python-m pip install -- upgrade pip. Let's go to path, but where I can find it. This. Oh, there you go. There you go. Gotcha. Makes sense. So let's actually reveal in File Explorer. So I guess scripts, right? There you go. Okay, cool. Let's add this to the path. Environment variables, path. Okay. Let's try now. Alright, I guess I have to restart my VS Code for that, for the changes to. Okay, cool. Visual Studio Code. And let's try it up. Okay, works. Works now. Nice. So I added those stuff to the path. Thanks to the comments. Must be Al-Rashdan, and also thanks to the when I upgraded pip, it gave me a warning which gave me the path to where the scripts are located, so I added that into my path. But anyway, so there you go. So now we have a my site folder. Inside that folder there is some files. Cool. You need to avoid naming projects after built-in Python or Django components. Okay. Well, this is something that is very, very common. Could happen. Like, especially if you're learning Django, you could just name your project Django and then you'll find a problem, I guess. What should this code, where should this code live? Cool. Let's look at what. So basically, you shouldn't put your code in /var/www, which is basically exposed to the public if you're on Linux, of course, and of course if you have your ports open and your server stuff is set up. Anyway, let's look at what start project created. Cool. The outer my site root directory is a container for your project. How long will you be streaming for? I don't know. Depends. Like when I get tired or until the morning prayer. So pretty much until the morning for my time. So it's actually 1 a.m. for me right now. So, but we'll see. Depends. Sometimes I just get tired earlier. So. I'm used to this, so I'm used to this. The outer my site root directory is a container for your project. Its name doesn't matter to Django. You can rename it to anything you like. To anything I like. Okay. Manage.py command line utility. Oh, I see. Nice. The development server. Okay. Well, I think I guess I'm supposed to maybe open my project into the new my site directory, I guess, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Let's actually go inside of it. Have to go. All the best. Goodbye, Flymoon. Thanks for coming in. Jungle learning my site. Let's go select folder, I guess. Select folder. Let's go. And we'll have just where we are now. Django learning my site. Actually, I should probably, yeah, hold on a second. What? There you go. Okay, so this is the right thing. Okay, cool. So now Python manage.py run server. Okay, so now let's click on the server, and the install worked successfully. Congratulations. You are seeing this page because debug is equal to true is in your settings file and you have not configured any URLs. Alright, cool. Cool. Nice. So it's working. Nice. So let's remove this thing. Let's keep that one. Ignore the warning about implied database migrations for now. We'll deal with the database shortly. You've started the Django development server. We're in the business of making web frameworks, not web servers. Now that's the server's running visits. That, okay. By default, run server commands. So this is how you change the port if you'd like. If you want to change the server. Cool. So you could also specify the IP. Magic real ID off run server. Okay, so if you add some files, you should actually, I think, restart the server because it doesn't trigger restart. Okay, interesting. Otherwise, it just does it automatically for you. So you do not have to restart the server. Cool. So projects versus app. Manage.py, there you go. So Python manage.py start app polls. Okay. So I guess let's leave the server running. Let's create a new terminal, I guess. And let's go ahead and say Python manage.py start app polls. Okay, so it have created a new directory for us called polls. Cool. And I think this is supposed to be the directory of a new app called polls, maybe. Yeah, will house the poll application. Write your first view. Alright, finally, right now we can write some code. Let's try the first view. Open the file polls_views.py views.py and put the following Python code in it. Okay. Why there is from Django.shortcuts import render? Well, I guess for now I could just comment it out. Okay, so from Django.http we can import HTTP response. Cool. And then we need to create an index function. Seems like you get the request and then you return an HTTP response. Hello world. You are the polls index. You have the black formatter extension installed. Would you like to use that as a default formatter? Yes, I do. Alright, cool. Create your views here. Def index. Did you know that Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube are built with Django? Really? Is really Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube are built with Django? That's crazy. Never really knew that. I mean, I knew that Django is being used by a lot of big corporations, I guess, and a lot of websites, but anyway. Okay, so let's just try to focus on this. Return HTTP response. So now what? This is the simplest view possible in Django. To call the view, we need to map it to a URL. And for this, we need a URL conf. To create a URL conf in the polls directory, create a file called urls.py. Your app directory should now look like urls.py. I just found out. Okay, well, urls.py. Let's go. urls.py. And now, in the post slash URL. So from Django.urls, import path. Okay. From point, import views. What is point? I don't really remember. What does that mean? But anyway, URL patterns is equal to a list where the first element is a function called to path, which gives us a URL pattern. So you give it an empty string for some reason, which is the route, and then you give it the view. We gave it the function index that we have made earlier. Okay, name is equal to, well, I guess at least, maybe not. Index, name equal index, okay. Well, let's add a comma there. And the next step is to point the root URL conf at the polls.url. What? The next step is to point the root URL conf at the polls.url's module in my site /urls.py and add an import for Django. Okay, let's just try to write the code and then we can try to understand what's going on there. Okay, my site /urls.py. Okay, there you go. So I guess the root module is right here. And you have a route for admin, seems like. And then right now we're gonna add a new path. We're gonna give it admin. Oh, actually not admin, hold on. So we're supposed, I guess, to add it. I don't know if the order matters, but it seems like I have to maybe pass it first. So, and then you include polls.urls. Okay. Now, of course, we need the include thing right there. Well, what's going on here? Import admin. So just not just path, but also include, I guess. Okay, cool. So this is the include function. The include function allows referencing other URL confs. Whenever Django encounters include, it chops off whichever part of the URL. Oh, I see what's going on here. So it's kind of like cascading. All right, the idea behind include is to make it easy. So any other URL patterns, you have to use include. The only exception is admin.site.urls, which is this one. So yeah, I noticed that you don't really need include here, but anything else you do. Seems like, okay. Verify it's working with the following command: Python manage.py run server. Hello world, you are at the polls index, which you define in the index view. Okay, let's try seeing if this works. Restart. And page not found. Really? Did I save all my files? Weird. Page not found. If you get an error, page here. Check that you're going to localhost 8000 polls. And oh, I see. No, I'm actually I didn't exit the server. It's still running. But the thing is, yeah, I'm supposed to actually go to the polls URL. So /polls. There you go. Okay. So hello world, you are at the polls index. Because in fact we have routed it to polls, so that makes total sense. And so we probably can also access admin in the same way. Okay. Mr. Hacker, alright, so gotcha. Okay, cool. Nice. Alright. So we don't really need to restart the server, seems like, at least for now. Seems all good. Although if it didn't work for you for any reason, then you can restart the server and see if that fixes it. But for me, I'm just I didn't actually quit it. I'm still running the server on another terminal, and I'm using another terminal to actually do other commands. So the path function is passed 4 arguments, 2 required, route and view, and 2 optional quarks and name. Key W args and name. At this point, it's worth reviewing what these arguments are for. So these are the string for basically, I believe, the subpath in some sense. I'm not sure what's the technical word exactly, but anyway. So it's called the route here. And then you give it a view. Nice, its documentation seems good. Yeah, so far seems all good. Okay, so the view includes URL conf, kwargs dict, a dictionary of strings and any, and the name str. So we don't know these guys, these are optional arguments, but view and route are required. So first one is route of type string, and then you give it the view. Okay, cool. So what's next? Path argument route. Path argument route. Route is a string that contains the URL pattern. Okay, it contains the URL pattern when processing a request. Alright, so order matters. Order matters. Why? Because it's saying here when processing a request, Django starts at the first pattern in URL patterns, which is this guy, this list, and makes its way down to the list, comparing the requested URL against each pattern until it finds one that matches. So basically, if you could have multiple URL patterns, but let's say if 2 matches, then it's going to pick the first one because it's the first one that's going to be compared. Basically, it seems like, at least that's what I understood. So that's nice. Patterns don't search get and post parameters or the domain name. Okay, so parameters, and basically parameters are what comes after this interrogation mark, are ignored when comparing URL patterns. So this becomes just this, which honestly makes total sense. Okay, path argument view. Okay, now I think let's go back to the views. I guess. So hold on a second. So here we're making a path to the polls URL, okay? And then we're including polls.url. So the application polls, the URLs file. So in the URLs file of polls, we have another URL patterns with a path, and there is a string of none. So basically it would be just polls without any other kind of path or subpath, should I say. So basically the root of this guy is going to go to views, which we are actually importing here. So from point import views. I would guess maybe point is basically the kind of directory, but I don't know. And then you go from views to index. From views to index. So the index function that we have just made. The name is equal to index. All right, gotcha. So views.index. All right, gotcha. Cool. So as they said here, when Django finds the matching patterns, it calls a specified view function with an HTTP request object as the first argument. There you go. And any captured values from the route as keywords arguments. We'll give an example of this a bit. So this is a HTTP request, I guess, right? I think maybe I have to import it to do that, but anyway, who cares? So okay, arbitrary keyword arguments can be passed in a dictionary to the target view. We aren't going to use this feature of Django in the tutorial. Naming your URL lets you refer to it ambiguously from elsewhere in Django, especially from within templates. This powerful feature allows you to make global changes to the URL patterns on your project while only touching a single file. Nice. Very comfortable. Read part 2 of this tutorial to start working with the database. Oh man, databases. Databases. I never really worked with the database before, I guess. Other than basic interactions, but anyway. This tutorial begins where tutorial 1 left off. We'll set up the database, create your first model, and get a quick introduction to Django's automatically generated admin site. Database setup. My site settings.py. Okay. And I feel sorry for mobile viewers. Right now, by default, is a normal Python module level. Variables representing Django settings. By default. What? If you wish to use another database, install the appropriate database bindings and change the following keys. Okay, so there's a databases dictionary here, and there's a default dictionary, and it's called engine. And yeah, there you go, django.db.backends.sqlite3. So I guess you can basically install another binding. If, for example, let's say you want to use Postgres, I guess you could basically somehow install the binding for Postgres and then basically change this here, or maybe add another database here. But yeah, name basedir /db.sqlite3. What is basedir though? In this case, it's path file .resolve .parent. So the path of the file .parent I guess, maybe. Okay, gotcha. So basically the root where manage.py resides. Makes sense. So the project, I think, yeah, it's project path, I guess, or the project directory, should I say. Anyway, cool. Engine. So either django.db.backends.sqlite3, django.db.backends.postgresSQL. Other backends are also available. Cool. So depending on which database you'd like to use, name the name of your database. If you're using SQLite, the database will be a file in your computer. In that case, name should be the full absolute path, including file name of the file. That file, the default value base there / Alright, gotcha, makes sense. So basically the file of the database that will be stored in your computer will be called with the name attribute here. So it would be base directory, which is basically the project directory /db.sqlite3. So there will be a file near manage.py, which is going to be called db.sqlite3. Makes sense, okay? If you're not using SQLite as your database, additional settings such as user password. If you're not using SQLite as your database, okay, so if you're using another kind of database, then you have to specify the user and password attribute and the host. Okay, for database other than SQLite. If you're using a database besides SQLite, make sure you have created a database by this point. Do that with create database name. So this is SQL code as far as my knowledge goes within your database's interactive prompt. Also make sure that the database user provided in my site /settings. Okay, so if you're using SQLite, you don't need to create anything beforehand. The database file will be created automatically when it is needed. Nice. So I don't have to do anything. Amazing. I bet most programmers just go with SQLite anyway, just because of this. Oh yeah. While you're editing my site/settings.py, set time zone to your time zone. Okay, let's look for where is it time zone, this guy. Okay, so you set it to your time zone. But I don't know what is my time zone. What's my time zone? Let's look for it here, maybe. I'm looking for a list of time zones, but I cannot find it around here. Which is crazy. Okay. Well, who cares, I guess. To your time zone. Alright, so you could basically create application and distribute them to others. Installed apps. Right. So in our case, there is admin, auth, content types, sessions, and messages, and static files as the default installed applications. There's also middleware stuff. Okay. So the admin site, an authentication system. Okay. Framework for content types, a session framework, messaging framework, and framework for managing static files. Alright, so some of these applications make use of at least one database table. So we need to. This actually reminds me of an accident I had when I was developing or should I say when I was working on a game, of course as a freelancer on Roblox. And basically I tried to add a module into the game, an admin module into the game, but everything have just stopped working for the whole server, and like the actual production server, like players are actually playing in the game, and everything broke just because of me adding a module, a very well-known admin module to the game. And that was the case because like the module was using some database that is used by the game too. Oh man, that was crazy. I'm glad it was easily fixed. But yeah. All right. The migrate command looks at the installed app settings and okay, so we have to actually say Python manage.py migrate. So to create the tables in the database of all the apps that we're using, on all the installed apps that we're using, we have to execute this command, python manage.py migrate. And there you go, all okay, nice. And notice that we have right now a db.sqlite3 file. Okay, nice, amazing. I guess let's maybe look for an extension to read that. Which one should I go with? I don't know. Maybe let's go with this one. Okay. So let's see if that works. No. I guess I need this. I installed that one too. Alright, so yeah, you need that extension, and now I can actually see what's going on inside the database. Nice, amazing. So there's basically some tables here. This is kind of like Excel. So you have Django migrations. Okay, and then you have SQLite sequence, auth group permissions, auth user groups, auth user permission, Django admin log. I wonder what's gonna happen if like two apps that you have installed are using the same name, just like what happened to me in that accident in the game I was developing for. Django content type. There's auth permission, auth group, Django session. And Django migration seems like to basically contain a log or listing of all the other stuff. Okay, fine. Anyway, so basically you have to install this extension right here, SQLite viewer, to be able to view what's inside a SQLite database file. Cool. But hold on, the migrate commands look at the installed apps in your my site /NX file. I already displayed them using that extension. For the minimalists, like we said above, so you can get, so if you're a minimalist, you could basically just remove all that default stuff. But anyway, creating models. Now I'll define your models, essentially database layout with additional metadata. Philosophy. Model is the single definitive source of information about your data. The dry principle. Don't repeat yourself. Okay, so in our pull app, we'll create two models, question and choice. A question has a question and a publication date. A choice has two fields, the text of the choice and a vote tally. Each choice is associated with a question. Edit the poll/models.py file so it looks like this. Alright, so poll/models.py. Okay, back to work. Back to code. So from django.db, import models, and then we need a question class, and then it derives from model, seems like, and then you have two fields, seems like. You have question text, question text is equal to models.char field. Okay, and here you could tell it the max length, 200. Alright. I think the max length is there maybe to actually guard against security breaches. I guess maybe. Anyway, pub date models.datetime field, date published. All right, so publication date. Overflows, exactly right. All right. And then we also have another class called choice, which also derives from model. So I guess all models derives from that. Cool. And then we have three fields, right? Models dot foreign key, question. Okay, so we basically give it the class question. All right. Models dot cascade. Okay. On delete models dot cascade, and then another field, choice text is equal to models dot char field. Again, max length is equal to 200. Right, and votes is equal to models dot integer field. Right. I kind of got an idea of what I'm doing here, but I'm still not understanding everything. But we'll see. Okay, so here each model is represented by a class that subclasses django.db.models.model. Basically inherits that. Each model has a number of class variables. Okay, database field, just as I expected. So that's why we actually give it these types. Foreign key, char field, integer field, datetime field. These are basically database types. Yeah. Each field is represented by an instance of a field class. I did actually watch once a tutorial about SQLite, but I didn't really go deep into it. Also Django, but I didn't really. I think I didn't even like complete the tutorial, and it was a very long time ago. But anyway. But in fact, a lot of these things, if not all, well, almost all, is super new to me, just thanks to this documentation. So here each model is represented. Cool. Field is represented by an instance of field class. Okay, so I guess all these guys are deriving the field class, isn't it? No, it's foreign object. Related field. Oh yeah, so yeah, well, it's not the root class, but at least the base class for all field types. And then there's also register lookup mixin. And this is the root class. All right, gotcha. Well, that's a big hierarchy there, but yeah. Okay, cool. The name of each field instance, question text or pub date, is the field's name. In machine-friendly format, you'll use this value in Python code, and your database will use it as the column name. All right, I see what's going on here. So basically, I do not have to basically go ahead and edit the database like using SQL code, I guess. I could basically just, I think, write Python code, and it would work with Python and database at the same time. So yeah, that's very nice. That's very nice. So you basically write your code once in Python, and suddenly you have the database code and also the Python code. Yeah, makes sense. Two birds with one stone. Okay. Distill Django, what type of data? Nice, nice, nice. Because basically you use this value in Python code, and your database will use it as the column name. There's also an optional first positional argument to a field to designate a human readable name. That's used in a couple of introspective parts of Django, and it doubles as documentation. Oh yeah, I see. So you could also basically specify a human readable name. So for example, here pubdate is going to be the column name in the database, and also you'll use this in your Python code to refer to this value. But you could also give it basically a human readable name as the first positional argument to the field function. So in this case, they defined it for data published, but for the other guys, no, they just left it empty. All right, cool. Some field classes have required arguments. Some field classes have required arguments. Char field, for example, requires that you give it a max length. That's used not only in the database schema, but in validation as well, as we'll see soon, or soon see. Yeah, so char field seems like max length is actually required. It's obligatory to include for the char field, which is basically used for the database schema, seems like, and also in validation. I would guess validation also includes the security overflow vulnerability. But anyway, a field can also have various optional arguments. Okay, so there is some optional arguments to fields. Some of them is the default value. So in votes, we have set that to 0. Okay, so we have given a default value to that. Cool. Finally, note a relationship is defined using foreign key. And this tells Django each choice. That tells Django each choice is related to a single question. Alright, so here we were using the foreign key. And foreign, I guess that means that basically we're going to link or make a relationship between this kind of thing, the choice, with, in this case, with the question. And they seem like they're relating it to a single question. So one-to-one relationship, and there's an onDelete function. Cool. Activating models. That small bit of model code give Django a lot of information. With it, Django is able to create a database schema, create table statements for this app. Oh man, nice. So I don't have to write SQL code myself. Amazing, perfect. Create a Python database access API for accessing question and choice objects. So as I said, 2 birds with 1 stone. It creates a database schema using this, and it also creates a Python database API for accessing question choice objects. Nice. Philosophy. Django apps are pluggable. You can use an app in multiple projects, and you can distribute apps because they don't have to be tied to given Django installation. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. To include, so it's very reusable. SQL code is not that bad. I just not too familiar with SQL code. I tried it once. I tried to use it once, and I did create a little console application with SQLite, following up with the tutorial. But the moment I tried to do something a little bit complex, and I was stuck there for a second. But anyways, to include the apps in our project, we need to add a reference to its configuration class in the installed app settings. But I do have a course in university on SQL that I actually skipped this term, but I'll probably pick up in one of the next terms. But anyway, To include the app in our project, we need to add a reference to its configuration class in the installed apps. To include, I took it this term. Nice. So you have already studied about SQL. The polls config class. So hold on a second. To include the app in our project, we need to add a reference to its configuration class in the installed app setting. The polls config class is in the polls/apps.py. What? Polls/apps.py. There you go. So its dotted path is polls.apps.pollsconfig. Okay, so the application directory name, then the apps file, and then the pollsconfig class. So apps, pollsconfig. Okay, it's right here. Nice. So edit the my site/settings. Cool. And add that dotted path to the installed apps setting. It'll look like this. Okay, let's see. Installed apps. So where do I should add it? I guess in as the first one. Again, I wonder if the order matters in here. Yeah. So you basically say polls.apps.pollsconfig. polls.apps.pollsconfig. Cool. Now Django knows to include the polls app. Let's run another command. Now Django knows to include the polls app. Let's run another command. So I guess we didn't have the polls. Hold on, what? Come on, bro. Come on. Now Django knows to include the polls app. Let's run another command. Windows always asks you for feedback when you want to focus on your thing. But anyway, Python manage.py make migrations polls. Now Django knows to include. Should see something similar to the following. Okay. Python. Yo, what's going on with VS Code? Okay, fine. Python manage.py. So from what I understood until now about manage.py is that it's basically a Python file that contains some utility functions that you use, for example, to run the server, to make migrations, etc., etc. So it's kind of like a plugin in some sort, in some sense. But anyway, whatever. Make migrations. It's like your toolbox for development, I guess. Make migrations polls. Python manage.py. Next time you restart, you will find that the only available option is update and restart. Yeah. Oh man. Python manage.py make migration polls. But why do I need this? Make migrations polls. Oh, I see. So basically, before we have actually said to Python manage.py migrate, and that have basically gone through all the installed apps, and then it migrated all the database stuff into it, right? Into our database file. But now we have said make migrations polls. So to make migrations for the database of the polls application. That's why it created the model question. It created also model choice. So I guess it's added it right here now, maybe. Isn't it? Let's see. Where is it? I cannot really find it here for some reason. Do I have to maybe... Weird. Well, I cannot find it. I don't know. Anyway, you should see something similar to the following. By running make migrations, you're telling Django that you made some changes to your models. Alright, so every time you change your models, I guess you have to use that make migration. In this case, you've made new ones, and that you'd like to the changes to be stored as a migration. Okay, migrations are how Django stores changes to your models and does your database schema. They're files on disk. You can read the migration for your new model if you like. It's the file poll/migrations. Alright, so poll/migrations initial pi. Alright, don't worry, you're not expected to read them every time Django makes one, but they're designed to be human editable in the case you want to manually tweak how Django changes things. Okay, let's have a look. So, from Django.db import migrations models, from import Django.db.models deletion, class migration, migrations.migration, initial equal true, dependencies, operations. There you go. We have created the model question with the fields ID, question text, and pop date. Cool. So I guess you could use this maybe for something similar to Git, like version control for your database, I guess. Maybe. At least that's what I understood. But yeah. Okay, pretty cool. So no wonder Django is being used by big corporations. It seems like it's very robust, honestly, so far. Pretty interesting. Okay, so it does your database. Alright, there's a command that will run the migrations for you and manage your database schema. Ooh, automatically. Nice. As programmers, we always like automatically. If not, we make it automatic. That's called migrate. And we'll come to it in a moment. But first, let's see what SQL.migration would run. The SQL migrate command takes migration names and return their SQL. Okay. So let's try it out. Python manage.py SQL migrate polls 001. Is that 000 really needed? I wonder. But anyway. Okay, so that basically seems to give you, we reformatted it for readability. So basically that gives you the equivalent of your polls models in SQL code. Interesting. So I guess you could use this to cheat and learn SQL then. Nice. Alright. Saved for later. So when I want to learn SQL, I could use Django to do it. I could basically just write databases in Python and just see the translation. Nice. So begin the create table polls question. ID big int not null primary key generated by default as identity. What is this? The question text varchar 200 not null. Bruh. Pub date timestamp with time zone not null. Like the worst mistake of humanity is trying to make programming languages seems like English. So you have to say add constraint, foreign key references, not null primary key generated by default as what is this, man? Should I learn right now English grammar just so I understood the SQL script? That's crazy. Oh man. Alright, anyway. Note the following. The exact output will vary depending on database you are using. It will vary depending on the database you're using. The example above is generated for Postgres. Okay, Table names are automatically generated by combining the name of the app, polls, and the lowercase name of the model, question, and choice. You can override this behavior. Okay, so it's basically the tables are named as polls and then the name of the model. So the name of the application and the name of the model. Okay. Primary keys IDs are added automatically. You can override these too. Primary keys. Where are the primary keys? I don't know. Anyways. Okay. By convention, Django appends ID to the foreign key field name. Yes, you can override this as well. Okay. The foreign key relationship is made explicit by a foreign key constraint. Don't worry about the deferrable parts. It's telling Postgres to not enforce the foreign key until the end of the transaction. Okay. Sail to the database you're using. I'm glad I don't have to write that SQL code myself. The SQL migrate command doesn't actually run the migration database. Instead, it prints it to the screen so that you can see what SQL Django thinks is required. Okay, nice. If you're interested, you can also run python manage.py check without making migrations or touching the database. Now run migrate again to create those models tables in your database. What? Didn't I just run that? Or I guess I have to do it twice. Oh, actually, I actually said SQL migrate, isn't it? Actually, make migrations, sorry. Make migrations. Now I have to basically call migrate again as I did before. Cool, but I could also say managed.py check. System check items. So I guess before it didn't really apply those changes to the database. But what it did, I guess it just generated that migration file. Okay. Now to actually apply those changes, I guess I have to do this. Well, let's watch how, I guess. Migrate. So it's okay. Now let's see if we can find this here now. All right, let's go. So I just refreshed, and now we have polls question and polls choice. Nice. Here's the polls question. It's empty table, of course. You have an ID, you have a question text, and a publication date. And then there's also polls choice, ID, choice text, votes, and question IDs. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Amazing. Perfect. So yeah, that's why they didn't show up before, because when you say make migrations, it doesn't really apply them to the database just yet. So you could, I guess, basically check to make sure everything is okay before actually applying it to the database. But okay, fine. The migrate command takes all the migrations that haven't been applied. Django tracks which ones are applied using a special table in a database called Django migrations. Oh, alright, so it's actually tracks them into the database itself for some reason. And runs them against your database, essentially synchronizing the changes you made to your models with the schema in the database. And is it really a good choice to actually store that there? But anyway, who cares? Alright, migrations are very powerful and let you change your models over time as you develop your project without the need to delete your database or tables and make new ones. It specializes in upgrading your database live without losing data. We'll cover them in more depth in a later part of the tutorial, but for now remember the 3-step guide to making model changes. Alright, so I guess this migrations kind of mechanism is basically helping you when you want to change how your database is structured, I guess. But at the same time, you can keep your data, so you don't have to do everything from scratch, I think. Okay, that's very interesting, honestly. Change your models in models.py. So every time you want to make in model changes, you have to change your models in models.py run python manage.py, make migrations to create migrations for those changes, and then run python manage.py migrate to apply those changes to the database. Okay, here we go. The reason that there are separate commands to make and apply migrations is because it'll commit migrations to your version control system. Hold on. It's because you'll commit migrations to your version control system. Okay, like Git, for example, okay? And ship them with your app. They not only make your development easier, they also usable by other developers in production. Well, not sure exactly what they mean, but anyway, read the Django-admin documentation for full information on what the manage.py utility can do. So not in memory. What do you mean by in memory? Playing with the API. I know there is a database that it is in memory. Oh, so maybe when you make migrations, does it like store them in the database in memory, like in RAM? And then when you say migrate, it basically go ahead and applies those changes into the actual database that is in the file? Is that what you mean? I think that's what I understood. But playing with the API, yeah, I think so. All right, that's nice. Now I understand. Now let's hop into the interactive Python shell and play around with the free API Django gives you. To invoke the Python shell, use this command. Now let's hop into the interactive Python shell. Now let's hop into the interactive Python shell and play around the free API Django gives you. To invoke the Python shell, use this command. Okay, let's get to Python manage.py shell. Alright, so we got a shell. We're using this instead of simply typing Python because manage.py sets the Django settings module environment variable, which gives Django the Python import path to your mysite/settings.py file. Okay, cool. Once you're in shell, explore the database API. The database API. Oh. Okay, let's try this up. From polls.models, import choice, question. Import the model class we just wrote. Polls.models, import choice and question. Okay, sure. Now, no questions are in the system yet. So I guess to basically get the questions that are available right now, or that are in the system, you say question.objects.all, then you call that function. Okay, so we got nothing. Create a new question. Support for time zone is enabled in the default settings file, so Django expects a date time with tz info for pub date. Use timezone.now instead of datetime.datetime.now, and it will do the right thing. So from django.utils, import time zone, and then the Q is the question. Basically, I guess you create a new question here. Question text is equal to what's new, comma, pub date is equal to timezone.now. What? Question got unexpected keyword arguments. Pub date. Oh, data. I wrote data a lot these days, so date. Okay, now it's successful. Save the object into the database. You have to call save explicitly. Alright, so I have just created the question. Now I can save it by calling the member function save, I guess. There you go. So now is it like added to the database, I guess? Or is it still in memory? Let's see. So I guess Paul's question. All right, so when you say q.save, it actually adds it to the database. Nice. So ID1, what's new? Question text and the publication date. Amazing. All right, so q.id, so is 1, and q.question text is what's new, and q.pubdate, of course. There you go. Nice. Access model field values via Python attributes. All right, nice. Change values by changing the attributes, then call and save. Okay. Q.question text is equal to what's up? Pretty creative questions, huh? Now we gotta save them. Oh, I have to call the function. So I guess I have to refresh. There you go. Okay, so it got changed. Nice. Now question.objects all. There you go. Amazing. Perfect. Oh man, I'm glad that I don't have to learn SQL anymore. I could just use Django. Nice. Wait a minute. Question object 1 isn't a helpful representation of this object. Let's fix that by editing the question model in the poll/models.py file and adding an str method to both question and choice. Amazing. Perfect. So you go to models, and then in your class you add the meta method. Is that what is it called in Python? At least in Lua it's called that. But yeah, self.choice text. So you basically give it some string representation for your class. So whenever you print your class, it basically invokes the str method here. And here we return what? Self.question text. Makes sense. Makes total sense. Okay, amazing. It is important to add str methods to your models, not only for your own convenience when dealing with the interactive prompt, but also because object representations are used throughout Django's automatically generated admin. Oh, okay. All right. So it's not just for your convenience, but it's also used by Django's automatically generated admin page, I guess, or admin system, I don't know. But basically something admin. Let's add custom method to this model. So is the changes already up? So can I use the query again and it would basically do it? No, I guess maybe I have to restart the shell. So let's try it out. Shell. And I have to import that stuff again. And I don't even remember how I did that. So from polls.models, import choice and question. Okay, so from polls.models, import choice and question. Okay, let's try it again. Well, so you say, what was it again? Okay, question dot objects dot all. There you go. As you can see, it's saying question and it's saying what's up. Alright, instead of that generic name. Amazing, perfect. So you have to basically restart the shell when you actually make a change in your models. Right. Now let's add a custom method to this model. So in the question class, we could add another method, was published recently. Self. Okay. Return self.pubdate. greater than or equal to time zone dot now. Yeah, we need to import time zone. No, bad solution is there. So from Django dot utils import time zone. Okay, import time zone. Now I could actually go ahead and use that. So time zone dot now minus, well, we have to call that minus date time, which I also have to import. And they seem like they're following a convention, I guess, that you basically import the Python standard library first, then the Django stuff. It seems like, I guess. So date time, dot time delta, days equal 1. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. But what's this exactly? So yes, I think I saw that in the pip 8. Yeah, it's probably there. So return self.pubdate. So publication date should be greater than or equal to timezone.now minus datetime.time delta, days equal 1. What? So I guess it should be maybe was published just in the last 24 hours. I guess this is what it's doing here. Okay, just guessing, of course. Note the addition of import date time and from Django.utils import time zone to reference Python standard datetime module and Django time zone related utilities. Alright, as you can see, save these changes and start a new Python interactive shell by running python manage.py shell again. So every time you change your models, you have to restart your shell. So let's exit. And let's actually run python manage.py shell. Okay. Save these changes and start a new interaction. So from polls, again, from polls.models, import choice and question. Make sure our str addition worked. So you say question.objects.all as we did before. And there you go, str works. Django provides a rich database lookup API that's entirely driven by keyword arguments. Nice. So you say question.objects .filter, and then you give it an ID. For example, 1 in this case, yeah, and it gives you only the objects or the questions that have an ID of 1, I guess. Okay, and then question.objects filter. So question text starts with equal what? So you would filter up only the questions that it would keep only the questions that starts with what, I guess. Yep. Nice. So I guess here you basically say the field and then you do this two guys and then you say starts with. Query set question what's up. So get the question that was published this year. Ooh. Okay. So from Django .utils import time zone. Current year is equal time zone .now .year. Okay, so we got the year, the current year. Now question.objects Get publication date, again the field name, and right now we got this two guys again, and this time instead of starts with we have year is equal to current year. Nice. Question, what's up? Nice. Request an ID that doesn't exist. This will raise an exception. Question dot objects dot get ID equal to. There you go. It raised an exception. Does not exist. Question matching query does not exist. Okay. Lookup by primary key is the most common case. By primary key is the most common case. So Django provides a shortcut for primary key exact lookups. It is 4:28 here. Got to go. Have a good one. I would watch the rest if you apply the stream. Thank you for coming and thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much. And have a good one. So it's 2:29 in here. So I still have, I guess, a couple of hours. Yeah, kind of. Alright. So lookup by primary key. Shortcut for primary key exact lookups. The following is identical. You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Shortcut for primary key exact lookups. The following is identical to question. The objects dot get ID is equal to 1. Okay, so you could also say question dot objects dot get pk primary key basically equal 1. Make sure our custom method worked. Alright, q is equal to question dot objects dot get pk is equal 1. Q dot was published recently. Nice. So you basically could implement some methods, some custom methods, and then you can use them in your shell. Perfect. So you could use them as shortcuts basically, I guess. Nice. Give the question a couple of choices. The create call constructs a new choice object. Does the insert statement adds the choice to the set of available choices and returns the new choice object. Django creates a set to holds the other side of a foreign key relation. Example, a question choice which can be accessed via the API. So you get the question first, you get the question object. So question the objects dot get primary key equal 1. So we got the question, and then display any choices from the related object. Set dash dash none so far. So q dot choice set dot all. Okay, so none for now. And then you basically create 3 choices. So q dot choice set dot create a choice set. Okay, so because of the foreign key relation with question, so that's why we have choice set there. And now I can, I guess, create a relation, or actually create 3 choices. Yep. Okay, so you basically got the question, and now we're going to create 3 choices in that question. Okay, cool. Q dot choice set dot create choice text equal not much, comma votes equal 0. Okay, there you go. Now q dot choices, or should I say choice set dot create choice text equal the sky, comma votes is equal to 0. But isn't the votes field already have a default value? So is that really required to add? Anyway, so C is equal to q dot choice set once again. The create choice text is equal to just hacking again, comma votes is equal to 0. There you go. We got the choice, and this time we have stored it in a variable for some reason. So choice objects have API access to their related question objects. Nice. So here you could say c.question, basically the choice. Nice. So you could basically take the question that is related to it. There's a link to it. And vice versa, a question object gets access to choice objects. So q.choice set.all. Okay, so now we basically get all the choices inside of that question queue. So choice not much, choice the sky, choice just hacking again. And if it wasn't, I guess, for the str function here, we would not have a meaningful name there. But anyway, q.choice set.count. Okay, so I could also count them. So I got 3 choices, of course. The API automatically follows relationships as far as you need. As far as you need. Use double underscores to separate relationships. This works as many levels deep as you want. There is no limit. Find all choices for any question whose pub date is in this year. Find all choices for any question whose publication date is in this year. Oh man. Reason the current year variable created above. So choice.objects.filter. So the question, then 2 underscores, pub date, which is the field name, 2 underscores again, year is equal to current year. So we're getting the okay, so we're saying choice.objects. Okay, so we're getting all the choice objects, and we're filtering through the question linked that have a publication date where the year is the current year. Okay, gotcha. Makes sense. And of course, all of them are in the current year. Right, amazing. Let's delete one of the choices. Use delete for that. So C is equal to q.choice set.filter choice text starts with equal just hacking. So we're getting the choice set, and we're filtering with the text that starts with just hacking. Okay, and we sort that in a variable. Nice, which is a query set. And then we can say c.delete to delete all the query sets are there that. Okay, so c.delete. There you go. And now the query set is empty. Nice. Nice. For more information from model relations, see accessing related objects. For more on how to use double underscores to perform field lookups via the API, see field lookups. Alright, well. Philosophy, introducing the Django admin. Generating admin sites for your staff or clients to add, change, and delete content is tedious work that doesn't require much creativity. For that reason, Django entirely automates creation of admin interfaces for models. Django is written in newsroom environment with a very clear separation between content publishers and the public sites. Okay, site managers use the system to add news stories. Events, sports scores, etc., and that content is displayed on the public site. Django solves the problem of creating a unified interface for site administrator to edit content. The admin isn't intended to be used by the site visitors. It's for site managers. Okay, cool. Now creating an admin user. Honestly, Django is very interesting so far. First, we'll need to create a user who can log into the admin site. Run the following command. Okay. So now let's actually go out of this guy. Let's just exit. And now it could basically say Python manage.py create super user. Superman, okay. So username, leave blank to use Codotaku. Of course, mate. Honestly, I should have made it admin, but anyway. Email address. You will then be prompted for a desired email address. Can I just enter whichever email address, I guess? Honestly, I'll just cancel the operation and let's just do the same as they are doing. So the username, admin. Email address, admin@example.com. Then the password. You'll be asked to enter your password twice. The second time is a confirmation of the first. Who cares? Okay, this is just a debug server, so I'm just gonna make up a little password. Okay. I mean, come on. The password is too short. At least 8 characters. It's too common. It's entirely numeric. I mean, I know. Just a debug server. Bypass password validation. Create user anyway. Yep. Do it. Okay. Super use created successfully. Now the final step is to enter your password. You'll be asked to enter your password twice. The second time is the confirmation of the first. Start the development server. The Django admin site is activated by default. Let's start the development server and explore it. If the server is not running, start it like so. Didn't I actually already done that? Isn't it? Yeah, I already done that. So the server is still running, as you can see, in another terminal. So maybe I do not need to do that. So let's just, I guess, refresh. And right now, let's go to the route, admin. And okay, right now I can use my username, admin. And then my crappy password that I used. Of course, don't use this for a production server. I think it's obvious, but just making sure I'm not liable for any kind of damage there. All right, cool. Don't save. Right. Welcome admin, Django administration. Oh man. Okay. Authentication and authorization. So here we have groups and users. Recent action, my action is not available. Okay, let's see what they're talking about here. Go to admin or on your local domain. You should see the admin's local screen. Since translation is turned on by default, if you set language code, the login screen will be displayed in the given language if Django has appropriate translations. Where is that language code? I guess in the settings. There you go. ENUS. So you can change the language if Django have that available. If it have that translation available. Nice. Now enter the admin site. And now try logging in with the super user account you created in the previous step. You should see the Django admin index page. Alright, cool. You should see a few types of editable content, groups, and users. They are provided by Django.contrib, the authentication framework shipped by Django. Nice. Make the poll app modifiable in the admin. Alright, but where's our poll application. It's not displayed on the admin index page. Only one more thing to do. We need to tell the admin that question objects have an admin interface. To do this, opens the poll/admin.py file and edit it to look like this. Okay, cool. So basically you have to add it manually to your admin page. So I guess polls admin.py, and here you just ring your models. Import admin. Now I could basically say from dot models. So basically I guess dot is the current directory, and the model inside the models file, right? Import question. Okay, cool. And then admin.site .sites .site, yeah, .register question. So you have to register it in your admin file. And now explore the free admin functionality. Now that we registered question, Django knows that it should be displayed on the admin index page. Nice. Click questions. Now you are at the change list page for questions. Okay, let me see. Now let's refresh. And there you go. I'm still logged in. And I didn't have to do anything. I just added that, saved the file, and there you go. The changes are live into the server. So now there's the Pulse app application. And this one is from Authentication and Authorization Framework. Now let's go to the polls, questions. And there you go. Select a question to change. I don't know what's actually falling right now. Anyways, well. Select question to change. And here there is an add question. Now I don't know why there's this weird plus marks everywhere there. Is that a bug or a feature? Not sure. Anyway, so you have here an action, which I can basically delete selected question, for example. I would guess you could basically maybe add some actions somewhere. But anyway, you could select, I guess, all questions maybe. Or you could maybe select one of them. Right, it says here the count of how much questions, and then I guess you could click a question and all the fields are done. So question text, what's up, date and time. Oh my god. So this is very interesting. So you basically create one Python class, and suddenly you have a Python class, a database, and also an admin page. Everything auto-generated for you. Pretty interesting. Oh man, you're 1 hour ahead of server time. Yeah. Okay. Save and add another. Save and continue editing, and then you could also delete the question. Honestly, very, very interesting. And of course, you could add the question. You could tell it the question text, today, now, etc. Save and add another. Save and continue editing. Honestly, very, very interesting. Okay, so far pretty satisfied with Django. It looks pretty cool, man. Click questions. Now you're at the change list. Now you are at the change list. I did actually follow up a bit with a tutorial on Django, a video tutorial. But honestly, I didn't see any of these things. Like, bruh. I can't even remember what I learned in that tutorial. It was like a very, very long tutorial. But I didn't learn any of this stuff. Oh man. Documentation is much, much better than any video tutorial you can find. Okay. Unless if it's a stream of someone following up with the documentation and you're so lazy to follow up with it yourself. Okay. No pun intended. Anyways, click questions. Now that we've registered question, Django knows that it should be displayed on the admin index page. Now that we've registered question, Django knows that it should be displayed on the admin index page. Cool. Click questions. Now you're at a change list page for questions. This page displays all the questions in the database unless you choose one to change it. There's the what's up question we created earlier. The what's up question. Click the what's up question to edit it. I cannot help but just make sure to have the question's accent right. What's up? Click the what's up question to edit it. Things to note here. The form is automatically generated from the question model. I noted it instantly. The different model field types, datetime field, char field, correspond to the appropriate HTML input widget. I see, that makes sense. I mean, you have to get that information from somewhere. Each type of field knows how to display itself in the Django admin. Each datetime field gets 3 JavaScript shortcuts. Dates get a today shortcut and calendar pop-up, and times gets a now shortcut and a convenient pop-up that lists commonly entered times. Very interesting. The bottom part of the page gives you a couple of options. Save changes and return to the change list page for this type of object. Save and continue editing and reload the admin page for this object. And save and add another. Save changes and loads a new blank form for this type of objects. And displays a delete confirmation page. If the value of delete published doesn't match the time when you create the question in tutorial 1, probably means you forgot to set the correct value for the time zone setting. Yeah, I did. That's why it says you're 1 hour ahead of the server time. Interesting. So time zone variable in your settings is basically the time zone of your server. Reload the page and check that the correct value appears. Cool. Change the data published by clicking the today and now shortcuts. And also, yeah, nice. So when you do an action like changing something, the history is recorded. As you can see, pretty cool stuff. So it keeps a log of what have changed in case of you done something. So change the data published by clicking the today and now shortcuts. Then click save and continue editing. Then click history in the upper right. You'll see a page listing all. I'm not gonna do this because I'm 1 hour ahead of the server and I don't know what that could do. I think it may not do anything, but anyway, who cares? So via the Django admin timestamp and username of the person who made the change. Cool. So you get a date, time, the user who changed that thing, and then the action. Alright, so we're done, I guess, with the models API and the admin site. And now we have to learn more about how to add more views to our polls application. Cool? Pretty cool. I wonder how much documentation is left there. Alright, so the tutorials begin where tutorial 2 left off. We're continuing the web poll application and we'll focus on creating the public interface, views. Where to get help, okay. Overview. So in a blog application, you might have the following views. Blog homepage displays the latest few entries. Entry detail page, permalink page for single entry. handles posting comments to a given entry. I'll have the following for views. Display the latest few questions. So we're gonna create index view, detail view, results view. Index view will display the latest few questions. Detail view will display the question text with no results but with a form to vote. And results display results for a particular question. And vote action handles voting for a particular choice in a particular question. So all of these guys, this page and action, all of these falls in the category of views, seems like. Okay. In Django, web pages and other content are delivered by views. Each view is represented by a Python function or method in the case of class-based views. Okay. Django will choose a view by examining the URL that's requested, to be precise, the part of the URL after the domain name. Now, in your time on the web, you may have come across such beauties as me2/site/dearmode.html question mark sid type gen mode. Okay, so this is basically the path up to here. Then here you have the parameters. So sid is equal to that. Oh, sorry, equal to nothing, I guess. And type equal to gen, mode equal to core, plus I think it's maybe for space, maybe? I don't know. Core plus pages, gid equal to a6 cd 149. You'll be pleased. I can't state right now because it's midnight, but I'm gonna save this on my watch later. Hello, CL Masteries Animated. Thank you for tuning in. See ya. Mode equal to core plus page and gid equal to a6 cd4. All right. Okay, hold on a second. Gonna come back real quick. I don't care about Outlook, bro. Come on. Okay, I'm gonna come back in a second. All right, back. All right, let me make sure the mic is fine. Nice. Then the camera is fine. Okay, cool. Let's continue. A URL pattern is a general form of a URL. For example, use archive/year/month. To get from a URL to a view, Django uses what are known as URL confs. To get from a URL to a view, Django uses what are known as URL confs. A URL conf maps URL patterns to views. Okay, so this is what a URL conf, which I guess it is basically URL configuration, but maybe maps URL patterns to views. So in my programming world, I would call this URL conf as a dictionary or a hash map, where the key is the URL patterns, and then the values are views, which is, I guess, it's basically the representation in the Python code. But anyway, hey, what's up, Nikki Billy? Welcome to the live stream. How is it going? This tutorial provides basic instruction in the use of URL confs. Honestly, I have no idea why I'm wearing this. Fine, you. Yeah, I'm fine too. Thanks for asking. Okay. Just learning a bit of Django for the first time. It's been already 2 hours. We have learned a bunch of stuff. And Django is pretty awesome, honestly, so far. This is my first time to really just focus on Django. I did actually watch a little tutorial a long time ago, a video tutorial. It wasn't that great though. What is Django? Django is basically a web framework for Python. It really makes it much easier to create websites or web applications. So for example, it was very easy to basically, like, let me tell you what we have done so far. So basically we have created an application called polls, okay? And it's like framework in JavaScript. Well, yeah, yeah, just a framework. Framework basically makes things much easier to work with. So basically we created a project called my site, then we created an application called polls. Right, well, of course we have changed some stuff, but this is just an overview. And in our polls application we have added this models.py file, or at least we changed it. We basically created a class called question, which inherits model. Of course, model is coming from the framework, and you basically give some fields. Like for example here, question class have a question text field, publication date field, and here you give it the type you use the class as the type. In this case, for example, question text is a char field. You have a max length for all sorts of reasons, like security, I guess, on overflow, against overflow. Max length is required for char fields, and datetime field, which have dates published, data published. I called it data published. Okay, let me actually. All right, so it's dates published. Then we have a scr meta method, which basically helps us to. Gotcha, that cool in GL. All right, so this basically gives a representation for a string as the question text field, and here we have a function was published recently, which is kind of self-descriptive, and a choice. Now the nice thing so far is that by just creating these two classes, what happens is that you get the implementation for the database for free, and you also get the implementation for the admin page for free too. So there you go. I didn't do anything really. I just wrote those two questions, and suddenly I got an admin page and also got a database without writing no SQL code. I didn't have to create an admin page, nothing like that. It's as simple as going to admin.py, registering your question class, and there you go, done. Honestly, very nice. Of course we have done some other stuff, but yeah, that's basically the gist of it. So, or at least what I very much liked so far. So, and here's the database. Very cool. Alright, so let's go back to the tutorial or the documentation. Okay. Well, where's that thing? Well, at least we got an overview now of what we have done so far. At least the major stuff. So, where is it? Well, I'm trying to learn Python for game engine for like 3 years, right? I wouldn't really recommend Python for a production game engine. But Python would help you to focus on the I guess maybe the general behavior, algorithms, data structures, architecture of an engine, which would be just fine, honestly. But later on, maybe you would like to look into some other languages, especially compiled ones, I guess, for game engines like C, C++, Zig, Rust. Um, so yeah, for your sanity though, I would recommend to stay away from C++. But ironically, it's also the language that is most used to creating a game engine. But currently, at least for myself, I would probably go with Zig. So, at least for now. But anyway, um, but Zig is still not so mature yet. Sure, anyway, where you're from? Anyway, where you're from? I'm from Morocco. Is that what you're asking? I guess. Okay. A URL pattern is the general form of a URL. For example, news archive /year/month. To get from a URL to a view, Django uses where known. Okay, nice. This tutorial provides a basic instruction to use of URL confs, and you can refer to URL dispatcher for more information. Makes sense. Writing more views. Now let's add a few more views to poll/views.py. These views are slightly different because they take an argument. Now, as a beginner writing a game engine, I was thinking that Python is very, very bad for a game engine. But honestly, it's not that bad when you take into account that, for example, rendering is done by the GPU. And so, for example, for rendering, it doesn't really matter what language you use because most of the hardcore stuff will be done in the GPU side, which really doesn't matter what language you're using. But of course, there is stuff like, for example, physics and other crazy stuff when it comes to a game engine that you have to rely on native libraries that are written in compiled languages like C, C++, etc. And you basically just use their API in your Python code. So basically, you can make a game engine in like using Python, but as long as you basically not doing hardcore code and performance code in Python, you could basically rely on libraries that are written in C, and also libraries like NumPy. NumPy. There you go. To speed up a lot of crazy stuff, especially when it comes to math, matrices, arrays, etc., etc. And there's also other libraries depending on your use case, basically. But really, NumPy, I very, very much recommend mastering this guy if you'd like performance code in Python. But anyway, so, and also there is another choice that you could have is to basically implement modules like the stuff that needs for performance. Like for example, when you find yourself doing a lot of a big loop, like for example, you're gonna loop through all the objects, which could be like 1,000, 1 million objects, or who knows what, and you're doing some heavy calculations and stuff. Then you'd probably want to basically use a compiled language like C, Zig, Rust, whatever, and then basically compile the code into a shared library, for example, and then you can basically load that shared library in your Python code and just use the API of that library. So you'd basically rely on that native compiled code to basically run performance heavy code. But again, you'll also have a problem with that because, well, compiled code, or should I say native code, is not cross-platform, while Python is. So if you want to keep your application cross-platform, you have to fix the problem where you should make sure you compile to all the platforms that you're interested into for your native modules or your dynamic libraries or whatever. Anyway, let's go back into the the stuff. So anyway, writing more views. Now let's add a few more views to poll/views.py. To polls/views.py. Right. Now let's add a few more views to polls/views.py. These views are slightly different because they take an argument. To polls/. Okay, so polls/views.py. Okay, this guy. Polls. Def detail. So we're gonna add another other views. Okay, interesting. So def results, request, and you get the question ID, and then you create a response. And of course, this guy is basically a format specifier for a string. Okay, or in layman terms, a placeholder for a string. Response, and then you basically replace that %s with the actual string, which is in this case going to be question ID. Okay, and then the vote. You could also do something other than this. You could probably say F, and then basically do curly braces, and then use question ID there, just like this. This is another way of doing the same exact thing, and in fact it's meaningless to do a response in a variable in this case, and there you go. That's the same exact code. Now vote. So we got a request, comma question ID, then you return HTTP response, and here you say, well, another F string or format string, and you're voting on question %s, or actually let's use that guy, and let's say question ID. Interesting. Now, wire these new views into the polls.urls module by adding the following path calls. Wire these new views into the polls. Okay, let's go polls.urls. So now we have created the views. Now we have to basically wire them up to some URLs or URL patterns. Okay. There you go. So we already have added that index view here, as you can notice, and we already imported the views here. Okay. So now okay, cool. Now we do a path. And here is the interesting stuff. So I think this is a template. It's similar to, well, not too similar, but yeah, it's kind of giving me the vibes of C++ templates. But anyway, question ID /. Okay, so basically it would be /poll/any integer, because here we have used this kind of stuff and we have said that it's an integer, and it's going to be the field question ID, I think. Alright, cool. Comma views dot detail. So we have already created the view, the detail view as a function, and now we're wiring it up to this URL pattern, and we're giving it a name. In this case, it's detail. Amazing. Now let's add, I guess, another path. I'm just gonna copy paste, I guess, right now. And here we have int question ID again, but this time /results. So this is in the root thing, and here now we have the results. Now instead of detail, here we're gonna say .results. Name equal results. Okay, cool. Now let's actually copy and paste again. And this time it's so basically right now you could say /polls / whatever integer, and then you can say you have to say results / results. Cool, pretty cool, interesting stuff. I see what they're going with right here. It's pretty interesting. Question ID / vote / now views dot vote and name equal vote. Pretty cool. Okay, now take a look in your browser at poll/34. It'll run the detail method and display whatever ID you provide in the URL. Try /poll/34/results. So as I said before, I already have the server still running, I guess, in here, I believe. So let's try it up. So instead of admin, now I'm gonna go to the polls / and now I can say some integer, for example, I guess whatever number. Let's just go with something like 31, I guess. Anyway, / and now let's try this one. Oh, why it took too long? Okay, what's the problem here? Maybe I have to restart the server. Let's see. Okay, so there is actually an error. Module polls.view has no attribute detail. Ooh. Did I actually models? Where did we actually wrote that stuff? Views, okay. Did I save this file? I'm doing something wrong, I think. Let's go back. So where is it? So we have poll/views, and we have, let's remove the stuff that we're not using right now. url.py. Okay, so we have this guy and this guy. So we're saying polls / polls / okay, and then we're including this. Module polls.views has no attribute detail in here. Views.detail, but why? This works, but this not. I did save this, so what's the problem? What? Oh, where's detail? Oh my god, where's detail? I think I forgot it. Yeah, seems like. Oh yeah, I did. So that's why. Interesting. Okay, so def okay, detail request, question ID, return HTTP response. You are looking for question S. Well, let's just use this guy dot, and then here we can get the question ID, but of course here F. Okay, so let's try it now again. There you go. So right now we're saying you're looking at question 31. Now you could basically change this to whatever integer you'd like, and you get it done. Interesting. What if I say this? Same thing. Pretty cool. Nice. Makes sense. Now set a few more poll views. Okay. So that's basically it. Now let's try to say /votes. What? Oh, /vote. Okay, you're voting on question 7. Nice. Now I guess results. There you go. You're looking at the results of question 7. And yeah, pretty interesting. These will display the placeholder results and voting pages. When somebody requests a page from your website, say poll/34, Django will load my site the URL's Python module because it's pointed to by the root URL conf setting. It finds the variable named URL patterns root URL conf setting. Okay, so if we go to settings, is there here settings? I don't see a settings.py here. Migrations. There's only settings.py here in the app. So yeah, there's root URL conf, and here basically my site.urls. Okay, so here, like if you want to, I guess, to change the name, you have to do it here too. Okay, cool. It finds the variable named URL patterns. Yeah. So if you go to urls.py, there you go. It's looking basically for the URL patterns variable. Okay. And traverses the patterns in order. After finding the match at polls, it strips off the matching text polls and sends the remaining text 34 to the polls.urls.conf. So it basically parses the thing that it's caring about, and the rest goes to the route, which in this case we're including polls.urls. So it goes to the next file, which is this one, the urls.py of the polls. And it goes here, okay. There it matches int question ID, resulting in a call to the detail view, like so, where it basically gives it, yeah, pretty interesting. So that's basically the parameter that the view will get. Here we called it question ID. It's going to be the first parameter. Makes sense. Nice, very interesting. Using angle brackets captures, so these are called captures, part of DRL and send it as a keyword argument to the view function. Keyword argument, okay, so keyword, not positional arguments. So if we go back to, I guess, views, keyword arguments. Oh yeah, that makes sense because, well, here we're saying we should say exactly question ID, not any variable name here. Okay, makes sense. The question ID part of the string defines the name that will be used to identify the matched pattern. And the int part is a converter that determines what patterns should match this part of the URL path. The colon supports the converter and pattern names. So, okay. Basically, this is the converter, and this is the, what is it called? The pattern name. Okay. So write views that actually do something. Okay, finally we're gonna do something. Each view is responsible for doing one of two things: returning an HTTP response object containing the contents for the requested page, or raising an exception such as HTTP 404, which is basically for not found. The rest is up to you. Returning an HTTP response object containing the contents. Okay, interesting. Your view can read records from a database or not. It can use a template system such as Django's or third-party Python template system or not. It can generate a PDF file, output XML, create a zip file on the fly, anything you want, using whatever Python libraries you want. Interesting. Pretty interesting. Oh my god, so powerful. The most powerful thing on Python is its libraries. All Django wants is that HTTP response or an exception. Okay, so a view should basically either give an HTTP response or throw an exception. Because it's convenient, let's use Django's own database API, which we covered in tutorial 2. Here's one stab at a new index view, which displays the latest 5 poll questions in the system, separated by commas according to publication date. Amazing. Okay, let's try this up. Right now we're gonna do something useful instead of just trying crazy stuff. Anyway, so I guess I have to change the index function. Oh yeah, interesting. Okay, so we have to change this guy right now. Instead of returning a useless HTTP response, now we're gonna do something useful. Okay, so first we got latest question list is equal to question the objects the order by. Why I'm not getting oh yeah, because I have to import the model first. Okay, so basically right now what we're gonna do basically is we're going to access the database so we can do stuff with its items, in this case displaying the items, I guess. Okay, so from dot models, so import question. All right, interesting. Now I could say question the objects dot order by. Here you give it the field names. Field names. Is there well, okay, I guess let's try this up. Dash pub date. I'm not sure why the dash there, but okay. And then 5. So basically we're taking a slice from the beginning to the 5th character, I guess, or actually maybe to the oh, I see, the latest 5 poll questions. Okay, so this actually would give me the a list of question objects, and I'm basically taking the first 5 by basically going from 0 with basically the beginning to the 5th element, I believe. Okay, so yeah, that's nice. Okay, output is equal to comma dot join. All right, so these are the separator, and then you give it the list. Now here I guess we're using list comprehension. Q dot question. Where is Q? Oh, it's gonna come later. Okay, question text. So we're getting the question text field of every Q, where Q is in the latest question list. Cool. So we're basically joining all questions using the question text field. Okay, and then we're returning an HTTP response, of course, with our output that we have just, which is basically a string right here. Cool, interesting. There's a problem here though. The page's design is hard-coded in the view. A page's design, yeah, you see, if you want to change the way the page looks, you'll have to edit this Python code. So let's use Django's template system to separate the design from Python by creating a template that this view can use. Okay, first create a directory called templates in your polls directory. Django will look for templates in there, in your polls directory. All right, sure. So you create a templates directory. Your project template settings describe how Django will load and render templates. The default settings file configures a Django templates backend whose app dirs or directories is set to true. By convention, Django templates looks for a template subdirectory, so you should make sure that the name matches. Otherwise, I guess you could change it in the settings in each of the installed apps. Cool. And within the templates directory, you have to just create another directory called polls. Really, new folder, polls. And within that, create a file called index.html. Okay. Index.html. In other words, your template should be at polls/templates/polls/index.html. Okay, because of how the app directory's template loader works, as described above, you can refer to this template within Django as polls/index.html. Okay. Template namespacing. Now, I might be able to get away with putting our templates directly in polls/templates. I had heard that creating another polls subdirectory, but it would actually be a bad idea. Okay, so that was what I was trying to understand. Django will choose the first template it finds, whose name matches, and if you add a template with the same name in a different application, Django would be unable to distinguish between them. We need to be able to point Django with the right one, and the best way to ensure this is by namespacing them. That is, by putting those templates inside another directory named for the applications. Okay, makes sense. Makes total sense. But I thought actually would be namespaced automatically by the application, but it seems it's not. So it's basically just going through all the applications and scattering the templates directory just like they were all stitched together. That's why you have to create another directory called polls if you want to namespace them. Yeah, interesting. So always make a subdirectory first in the templates, otherwise you're working in the global scope where all applications work, and you are in danger at that point. Okay, of name collisions, etc., whatever. Cool, amazing, perfect. Put the following code in that template. Interesting. Okay. Is there some Django templates kind of thing, I wonder? Hold on a second. Let me see if there's some Django extension that would make our lives easier there, maybe. Django templates, there you go, and backend snippets. But those are snippets. Django template language support for Visual Studio Code. Let's go. But what's this all about? This seems like kind of the official thing. Beautiful syntax and scoped snippets for perfections with deadlines. Go to definition in templates. Control click or press F12. Adds the file type Django-HTML. Okay, so I guess this might be enough for getting. I guess this probably maybe the official one. Okay, let's try it out and see what's gonna happen there, I guess. Do I have to do anything to actually enable it or something? I don't think. I don't know. Okay, fine, anyways. So at least I downloaded it. So now let's try and see, hopefully, if we got that. There you go. It seems it's working. If. Okay, I got snippets. So And there's an end if, but there's no end if there for some reason, isn't it? Well, where's the end if here? No, actually it's right around here. Oh well. Honestly, I'm just gonna take it easy for now until I understand what's going on here. So if latest question list. Okay, so if latest question list. So this is basically how you do template stuff. Then regular HTML stuff, you list. I think if I remember well, it's basically an ordered list, maybe. Anyway, right, cool. Now for every question in latest question list. So first of all, it seems like we're making sure there is a latest question list. If not, I guess this would basically be, it won't be generated. At least this is just a guess, of course. Okay, for question in latest question list. So for every question, we're going to create a list item, and inside of it there will be a link with href of /polls. Oh man, the syntax is heavily packed. /poll/ question.id. Okay. Slash. Right. Why they're packing all that there? This is very confusing. Right, so you do this. The syntax is heavily packed. Question text. And you end. I think I'm missing something, right? Doesn't seem like. Anyway, so yeah, you end the link, and then you end the list item, of course. Now I'd better do it like this. Okay, cool. Now let's put the link in its own place too. Alright. There you go. Is there an extension to actually format this? I believe there is emit or whatever it is, I believe, but what about HTML format in? I honestly don't know. If you guys know any good extension to actually format Django HTML templates, then let me know. Or honestly, maybe we could check out on Django HTML format, maybe, or actually Django template formatter. Oh, okay. There is a formatter here. Nice. Let's try it, I guess. Okay, I guess let's try to install maybe. Then maybe we have to add this. Let's see. Alright, right now I'm getting errors at least. Which is nice. So here I guess end off. N4, sorry. N4. Okay, so I could just basically say N4 and tab. Cool. And you have to save, of course. And it would do that for you. And then of course I guess I have to end the UL. Isn't it? And then else. Alright, so if there is latest question list, then do that, else. Very nice. Else you make a paragraph, no polls are available. And then close the paragraph and then end if. Nice, let's go. So basically, if latest question list, then generate this kind of HTML code, else generate this kind of code. Okay, cool. Now, if this is the case, then we're gonna create an ordered list, and for every latest question list that we have checked before, we're gonna generate a list item with this stuff, where there is a link. There is a link, and the link is linking to /poll/ and here we're replacing this thing with question.id, the ID of the question basically, and here we're basically replacing that with the question text. This is basically the text that is inside the link. Makes total sense. Makes total sense. Nice. To make the tutorial shorter, all template examples use incomplete HTML. In your own projects, you should use complete HTML documents. Makes sense. You basically have to have a HTML doc type and HTML header, body, etc. That's what they mean. So okay, now let's update our index view in poll/views.py to use the template. Cool. So let's go to views.py again. And now inside the index, so we have this guy. Now, okay, we don't need any of this stuff for now, so we just need the list. And then what we're gonna do basically, template equal loader. Now we need, of course, to import the loader, seems like. And it seems like from here the convention is to basically so as we've seen before, import standard libraries, standard in Python libraries, then import Django stuff, and then import your own stuff, your files basically. So from Django dot template import loader. Cool. Now I could use the loader here dot get template. And then we're going to take the template poll/index.html. So dependent basically on what you call there. So basically here we have polls directory /index.html. So this makes total sense. Okay, so after the template, we have to make a context. And this context will be latest question list. Well, it's going to point to our list of questions. And I think basically here where if you have none, this would evaluate to false in the template. This would evaluate to false, so it would generate this guy, I guess. or maybe if the list is empty too, possibly, I don't know. Okay, and then here you would return HTTP response template. Oh, I called it tempalt. Template. That's a very cool name, huh? Template. If I create a new channel, then I'm gonna use and call it template. So okay, template.render. You give it the context and the request. Why the request? I don't know. Anyway, so return HTTP response template.render context, request. So I think basically when you render, it would basically go ahead at that point and generate the HTML content depending on the context and maybe the request. Alright, so in fact here you just load the template and then you create a context. Anyway, that code loads the template called poll/index.html and passes it a context. That context is a directory mapping dictionary mapping template variable names to Python objects. Load the page by pointing your browser at /poll/. Load the page by pointing your browser at /poll/. And you should see a bulleted list containing the what's up question from tutorial 2. The link points to the question's detail page. Amazing. So let's try this out. So you would go to the polls and there you go. It basically generates that stuff up. Amazing. Of course, I still have the server running, as you can see. If it doesn't work for you, maybe try restart the server. And if you click on it, let's go. You're looking at question 1. It basically redirects you to that link. Pretty interesting. So now we could also go ahead, go to localhost, I guess, /polls, localhost, okay, /polls, I guess. Maybe I have to add the port. 8,000. Okay, so localhost, the port is 8,000, and then you can here do maybe admin, and cool. Now I could add the username that we have of the super user we created earlier. So the username would be in this case admin, and the password that you have used. Don't save. Okay, now we could maybe add another question, for example, add. Then maybe we could create some question text. What is Django? Just like what Nikki have asked. What is Django, by the way? What's Django? Okay, hold on, let me just copy it. Okay. What's Django, by the way? Date published today. Time now. Well, not now, but I don't know if I can get the time though with the question. But anyway, let's just go with that. Although I guess, nah, it's fine. Okay. So I'm 1 hour ahead of the server time, but anyway, save. So the what's Django, by the way, is a question have been added, and now how I can actually add choices though. I don't know how I can add choices. Right, but anyway, for now, if I actually refresh, and there you go, it just got added there. What's Django, by the way? And if you click it, you're looking at question 2. All right, cool, pretty cool. All right, and I can even remove a question, for example, I guess. I can delete selected questions, go. Yes, I'm sure. And there you go, successfully deleted. Now refresh the page and there we go. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Alright, so, right, pretty cool stuff. A shortcut render. It's a very common idiom to load a template file, fill a context, and return an HTTP response object with the results of the rendered template. Django provides a shortcut. Here's the full index view rewritten. Okay, so there is a shortcut for doing this monstrosity. Okay, so note that once we've done this in all these views, we no longer need to import loader and HTTP response. You'll want to keep HTTP response if you still have the stub methods for detail results and vote. The render function takes the request objects as its first argument. A render function. Why the get admin just popped up? That's crazy. Okay. Alright. Note that once we've done this in all these views, we no longer need to import loader and HTTP response. The render function takes the request objects as its first argument, a template name as its second argument, and a dictionary as its optional third argument. It returns an HTTP response object of the given template rendered with the given context. Makes total sense. Alright, so let's try to rewrite this guy. So now we only need the context and of course the list. So we no longer need the loader. We no longer need to load the template. We just need the context, and we can reach, instead of HTTP response, template.render, etc., we could just say render. But of course I think we have to load that. Yep. So from Django, no longer needing the loader. In fact, you don't even need HTTP response, but we have detail function view and results view and vote view, which uses them, so we cannot remove them. We'll remove that for now. But anyway, so we could basically say from Django dot shortcuts import render. So you could import the shortcut render, and then you can basically use it. Render, you give it the request. Then you give it the template name, so basically the template path. So poll / index.html in this case, grml. Oh man, ht, pretty cool. You can come up with some pretty beautiful names if you just type in some Django code and don't look at the screen until you're done. So, comma context. So this should be hopefully fine now. Let's make sure this still works. Yep, it does. That's nice. Amazing. Alright, so we just rewrote that. And in fact, you could even probably just put the context inside of here. But yeah. So now raising the 404 error. Now let's tackle the question detail view. The page that displays the question text for a given poll. Here's the view. Alright, so def detail request comma question ID try. So we're trying question equal question the objects dot get pk. Oh yeah, remember that when we tried this in the shell, you actually have thrown an exception when it couldn't find that primary key, that item with the primary key equal to question the ID, and except question dot does not exist, raise http 404 question does not exist. And of course, at the end of the day, you can return render request comma polls detail.html. Alright, interesting. So let's do that, I guess. So we don't need any more this simple thing. could say try question is equal to question dot objects dot get. So we're basically making sure that the question with the primary key equal to the question ID that is given to us through the URL does actually exist. I mean, honestly, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. PK equal to question ID. I don't know what would happen if we didn't actually get the exception. Maybe it would just crash the server. I don't know if it would do that, honestly. Anyway, except question dot does not exist. Raise HTTP 404. Okay, it's not defined, so you have to import it from HTTP. So HTTP response, comma, does not exist. HTTP 400. Okay. All right, from the HTTP namespace. Okay, raise or module. Anyway, raise HTTP 404. Then you can give it a text. Does not exist. Okay, and then we return render. You give it the request. Then you give it the URL, detail.html. Then the context. Yeah, I'm learning fast. Anyways, question. And there you go. All right, amazing. So, yep. All right, now the new concept here, the view raises the HTTP 404 exception if a question with the requested ID doesn't exist. Cool. We'll discuss what you could put in the poll/detail.html template a bit later. But if you'd like to quickly get the above example working, a file containing just the question will get you started for now. Okay, so we have to create a new template because we're trying to use it here, as you can see there. So inside of the polls directory, you could create a new file, call it detail.html. And for now, as a placeholder, we could basically give it this template, question. And there you go. We'll get you started for now, okay. So can I right now use it? Let me see. I think so. So let's try it now, I guess. So the detail. Well, let me see the URL of the detail. Views.detail, here's the URL. So you just give it an integer, okay? So let's try it out. So poll/, for example, 1. Okay, it would give us the question because it exists. But if it doesn't exist, there you go. Page not found, 404. Question does not exist. All right, interesting. Okay. Although I'm not sure if this is actually the default behavior already. No polls are available. Okay, let's actually remove this from our site. Okay, cool. So now what's next? Okay, sorry for now. Okay, a shortcut get object or 404. It's a very common idiom to use get and raise HTTP 404 if the object doesn't exist. Django provides a shortcut. Amazing. Here's the detailed view rewritten. Okay, so you pretty much can very easily set up very complex websites using Django with minimum effort. All right. So how we do it? So instead of this gibberish, I guess you could basically say, so instead of this stuff, I think, isn't it right? Yeah. So instead of this, you could say, you could remove this guy and remove this guy. And then you could say, instead of question.object.get, you could basically say get object. But of course I have to import that first. It's inside shortcuts. A lazy person like me would like to later on read through all the shortcuts that are available. So get objects or 404. I'm going to abuse that shortcut, those shortcuts. All right, so question, primary key, question ID, cool. And that's how you do it. So instead of that bunch of lines, you have this, cool. The get object reform function takes a Django model as its first argument and an arbitrary number of keywords arguments, which it passes to the get function of the model's manager. It raises HTTP 404 if the object doesn't exist. Philosophy. Why do we use a helper function get object or 404 instead of automatically catching the object does not exist exceptions at a higher level or having the model API raises HTTP 404 instead of object does not exist? Because that would couple the model layer, the model layer. I guess I've said there the mother layer. Okay, to couple the model layer to the view layer. The model layer to the view layer. What? Okay. One of the more foremost design goals of Django is to maintain loose coupling. Yeah, I see. It's very interesting architecture. Some controlled coupling is introduced in the Django shortcuts module. Okay. There's also a get list or 404 function, which works just as get object or 404, except using filter instead of get. It raises HTTP 404 if the list is empty. Okay. So can we maybe use it here? But anyways, use the template system. Back to the detail view for our poll application, given the context. Variable question. Here's what the poll/details HTML template might look like. Okay. Poll. Detail. Okay. Detail.html. So instead of this stuff, we would go with each one, and then question text. And then in order, so h1, of course, if you don't know HTML, is basically a bigger font. So this would appear in a bigger font. There's h1 to h6, where h1 is the biggest and h6 is the smallest. And here, of course, we have an ordered list. And after that, we're going to say for choice in question dot choice set dot all, and here we're gonna have li. Okay, li what? Choice dot choice text. Okay, choice.choice text. So what we're doing here, basically, we're having a big text telling the question text. Then we have an ordered list where we basically go ahead and generate a list item for every choice in question.choice set.all. Okay, so all the choices inside the question, we generate a new list item, and inside of the list item we basically give it the choice text of that choice. Cool, pretty cool. Makes sense, makes total sense. Now the template system uses .lookup syntax to access variable attributes. In the example of question.question text, first Django does a dictionary lookup on the object question. Failing that, it tries an attribute lookup. Which works in this case. If attribute lookup had failed, it would have tried a list index lookup. Method calling happens in the for loop. Question.choice set.all is interpreted as the Python code question.choice set.all, which returns an iterable of choice objects and is suitable for use in the for tag. Cool. See the template guide. Removing hard-coded URLs in templates. So basically anything that is here, as I understood, it basically calls it. And anything that is inside of these guys, it basically goes ahead and use attribute lookup. So it basically kind of like just look it up. It doesn't call it as a function. I think maybe it's because of this guy. Maybe if you use this guy, then it would call it, and maybe this guy look up, but I don't know. Anyways, removing hard-coded URLs in templates. Remember when we wrote the link to a question in the poll/index.html template? The link was partially hard-coded like this. Yeah, so list item href. The problem with this hard-coded, tightly coupled approach, it's very clear that Django's authors hate tightly coupled stuff very much. Okay, approach is that it becomes challenging to change URLs on projects with a lot of templates. However, since you define the name argument in the path functions, in the polls.urls modules, you can remove a reliance on specific URL path defined in your URL configuration by using the URL template. Okay, makes sense. So basically you're already, so kind of like you're hard coding here the URL. So you could basically use this guy instead. Okay, cool. So where is this? It's in, I don't think here, I guess. Here, isn't it? Yes, here. So this would become, so instead of this guy, I guess, so this whole href changes. So we remove this, and now it will become, and here we will say URL detail and question.id. What? Okay, let me try to dissect this. So basically we said instead of /poll/ question.id, we said URL dash detail. So basically the URL of detail, I guess. Yes, I think. Yeah, the name that we have actually specified. Gotcha. And then here we're using the question ID. Alright, pretty cool. Pretty cool. But something is wrong here, I guess, isn't it? I don't know what's wrong. Invalid token. What? Let me try to do this for now, and let's try again. Okay, so instead of this, you know, oh, what the, why there's an error here? I honestly don't know. Maybe that's false positive, but anyways. Right. The way this works is by looking up the URL definition and specifying the polls.urls module. Can see exactly where the URL name of detail is defined below. Yep. There you go. The name value is called by the URL template tag. Makes sense. If you want to change the URL of the polls detail view to something else, perhaps to something like polls/specific/12, instead of doing it in the template or templates, you would change it in the polls/urls.py. Makes total sense. So added the word specifics, and you just make sure to keep the detail as the name. So kind of like the name is kind of like internal thing, and then the interface you can change it to whatever you want. Pretty cool. Namespace in URL names. So let's see if this actually works honestly. So how detail works? I need the URLs. So details, you basically say /ID. Okay. And there you go, it works. I don't know why it's saying an error here. What's up? Not much. And this guy. Cool. So it works. Here, for some reason, it's telling me an error, although it's not. So yeah. Stupidly weird. Anyway. How does one make it so that Django knows which app? So namespace in URL names. The tutorial project has just one app, polls. In real Django projects, there might be 5, 10, 20 apps or more. What the? How does Django differentiate the URL names between them? The URL names between them. For example, the polls app has a detail view, and so might an app on the same project that is for a blog. How does one make it so that Django knows which app view to create for a URL when using the URL template tag? The answer is to add namespaces to your URL conf. In the poll/urls.py file, go ahead and add an app name to set the application namespace. Alrighty, I wonder, okay, it's the last thing. Alright, amazing. I thought it was still very far, but it's in fact just the footer of the page. Okay, pretty cool. Alright, so this is pretty much the last thing, I guess, before I'm going to, yeah, pretty much. This is the last thing before ending the live stream, okay? The answer is you add namespaces to your URL conf. Let me know, by the way, if you want more of this kind of live streams where I basically learn something from scratch, absolutely from scratch, and I just share with you. So yeah. And also let me know if you want specifically more Django tutorials like this, where I learn Django. Okay, cool. So the answer is to add namespaces here, because basically I wanted to learn Django for a project that I have a deadline with, and I thought to myself, like, why would I not just share my adventure with everyone through a live stream? So yeah. Alright. The answer is to add namespaces to your URL conf in the poll/urls.py file. Go ahead and add an app name to set the application namespace. Okay, so pull slash, so URL conf is this guy. Now add an app name to set the application namespace. Okay, so you say app name is equal to polls. Okay. App name equal polls. Now change your polls slash index.html template to set the application namespace. Okay, now change your poll slash index.html template from, so polls templates, where's templates? Here you go. Slash index, there you go. From this to this, to point at the namespace detail view. All right, amazing. So instead of detail like this, you would say polls colon detail. Cool. Just like that. All right. When you're comfortable with writing views, read part 4 of this tutorial to learn the basics about form processing and generic views. Now let's just make sure this still works, and yeah, pretty much that's it for now. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching, everyone, and see you later. Goodbye.